Hello. This is the second of 3 videos I am doing on the court case Quincy Bell, that's the name that Keira Bell gave to herself as a male, and Mrs. A, who's the mother of a 15-year-old daughter with autism and gender dysphoria, against the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust. The High Court gave its ruling on 1st of December 2020, and this was reported by all the major newspapers. I've read the articles from The Times, The Daily Mail and The Guardian. I've also got a report from the High Court of Justice dated the 1st of December 2020 on the landmark ruling of this case. Quincy Bell, as Keira Bell was known, and Mrs. A claimed for a judicial review of the practice of the Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust through its Gender Identity Development Service of prescribing puberty-suppressing drugs to people under the age of 18 who experience gender dysphoria. Let's talk about Keira Bell first of all. Keira Bell is a 23-year-old who from the age of 16 transitioned to becoming a man and now is transitioning back to becoming a woman. She suffered from gender dysphoria as a teenager and decided to undergo gender reassignment. She now regards this as a rash view of a teenager and said that teenagers do make rash decisions. Keira was given puberty-blocking drugs at age 16. The Tavistock Centre state that this is to give people time to consider their gender dysphoria and whether they wish to undergo gender reassignment. However, once being given these drugs, it has been shown that the vast majority of people who have had them then go on to receive cross-sex hormones. Keira was then given testosterone at age 17 and had a double mastectomy at 20. She says that she has been left with a beard, body hair and a deep voice and a double mastectomy, and that her sexual function has been affected. Moreover, she is not sure whether she will be able to have children, and if she does, she certainly will not be able to breastfeed. She is now transitioning back to being a woman. However, this will present medical hurdles as well as legal ones, as legally she is a man. Keira said that she did not undergo a proper psychiatric assessment prior to being given puberty blockers, and that she was not challenged about her decision to transition to becoming a male. The Tavistock Centre representatives refute this. Her lawyers argued that 16-year-olds are too young to be able to consent to such treatment, as they are unlikely to understand the full extent of what the treatment might mean for them. That is, and I quote, long-term medical, psychological and emotional implications of taking puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. The landmark ruling was that children who are under 16 who want to undergo gender reassignment can only consent to having puberty blocked if they are able to understand the nature of the treatment. This ruling will make it harder for children to receive puberty-blocking drugs. Keira Bell is delighted at this ruling. She said that this will give more protection to teenagers with gender dysphoria. She said that this judgment is not political, it's about protecting vulnerable children. I'm delighted to see that common sense has prevailed. The judges said in their ruling that 13-year-olds and children who are younger would be highly unlikely to be competent to give consent to puberty blockers. Dame Victoria Sharp, who delivered the ruling, stated that it is doubtful that a child aged 14 or 15 could understand and weigh the long-term risks and consequences of the administration of puberty blockers. She added, in respect of young persons 16 and over, the legal position is that there is a presumption that they have the ability to consent to medical treatment. But given the long-term consequences of the clinical interventions at issue in this case, and given that treatment is as yet innovative and experimental, we recognise that clinicians may well regard these as cases where the authorisation of the court should be sought prior to commencing the clinical treatment. In my next video, I will give a more in-depth summary of the High Court ruling. Thank you for listening. It's Dr. Beth Colby, a psychiatrist in London. Bye for now.